tonight is a special night because this A&E Biography documentary miniseries, 8 episodes in total, has been very special and a pleasant surprise for me, at least, because I've been a lifelong Bret Hart fan. So to have the final episode to close things off be Bret the Hitman Hart, which his story has been told a bunch of times, like they allude to here with Wrestling with Shadows, and I think he did another doc on his own after that. There was a book. There was a bunch from WWE when they were on that, 3-disc DVD binge of like everybody possible. Get their DVD here. A month later, get another DVD too on top of that too. But it's always good to have another set of eyes, like you said, as far as A&E's version is concerned of Bret the Hitman Hart, the story, which this whole thing's been great because each episode has been very plentiful and chock full of information as far as 2 hours long each. You don't feel the 2 hours. If anything, you look when you start the episode, next thing you know, you look, it's like halfway done already, and you're like, oh shit, I need more. Yeah. Or I hope they don't skip out on this part, which they didn't. Everybody that was focused on got their equal balance of, yay and nay, yin and yang per se. So not like Dark Side of the Ring, which I wouldn't say, like the perfect example would be the Ultimate Warrior. Same week, surprisingly enough, Sunday of, they released the A&E version of Ultimate Warrior, which is very well told, put together. And they did touch on, him being an asshole and how a lot of people perceive him to be in the business. But then that following Thursday, they come out with the Dark Side of the Ring version, which is 1 hour. And it's basically Jim Cornette and whoever else they can get to basically Jim Ross too shit on him the whole time. Which I'm not going to say they're wrong for doing so, but that's probably their own personal experiences that we weren't going to get, obviously, in the A&E version. So much that, and it's funny too, because the A&E version was solely the second current wife before he passed, Dana Warrior, which she has her own award given out every year with the Hall of Fame and such. And the Dark Side of the Ring was solely focused on and had only as a guest the first wife from like early on in his career.
No, so I'm quite sure she probably gave the best about him.
No, surprisingly, she did actually. She was very favoring towards him. Like the only thing she even said bad about him was like, okay, he cheated on me as soon as he got too popular and was on the road all the time. And I started finding his little planning, contacting book, whatever, full of names of different girls from different cities via names and all that too. So that's the worst she said, surprisingly. It was, of course, Jim Cornette and Jim Ross and all them other ones that were just shitting on him as best as much as they could. Which, okay. His attitude, his demeanor, everything he fucking made demands with the fucking letter he wrote to Vince about basically, oh, if I don't get this, that, and the other done and I don't get paid as much as Hulk Hogan, I'm not coming back. So go fuck yourself otherwise too. And then Vince writes him back saying, well, you're a legend in your own fucking mind. You're nowhere near the level of Hogan, so you can go fuck yourself by not coming back because I'm not giving you what the fuck you want, basically. But otherwise, people complaining about the Macho Man episode as A&E shit being a hit piece or like shitting on his legacy. No. They were showing, and A&E deserves a lot of praise. If you haven't yet, please go watch that episode of the Macho Man from A&E. Watch that shit and see that they're bringing to light everything the man did in his life. It's literally 2 hours of all aspects, all encompassing the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Damn. I mean, it's like in this business, in any form of entertainment business, it's tough, and then you're gonna make a lot of enemies, of course, as much as friends, but you're gonna make a whole lot of enemies, piss a lot of people off. So you just gotta be careful, man, with what you do and how you do it. Honestly, that's all I can say.
Which I respect and admire about you a lot, and not just because I know you or we're cool like that, whatever, but honestly, whoever it can vouch the same thing for me as well. Who has ever dealt with Supa Nitro, be it a promoter, manager, other wrestler in the ring, whatever, guy is straight professional the whole time, nice guy on top of that too, and you're easy to work with. Which, surprisingly, I guess early on in the 90s and such wrestling, you didn't find so many of those guys, according to whoever dealt with Warrior, whoever dealt with Shawn Michaels, whoever dealt with most of the guys, focused on too. It was hard to find a guy that was easy to manage, easy to, do business with per se. So I commend you on that for being the way you are.
Just I won't go Hollywood.
No Hollywood Nitro, please. We
No
don't need
Hollywood
that.
Nitro.
Although that name is kind of, it is the next level above Super, but
But we'll wait till we get there.
wait till we get there.
We'll
Exactly.
wait till we get there.
But listen, again, we're going to touch on pause. By the way, Super Nitro, his career. Kind of highlight, gloss over the highlights per se, especially the big one you had, like I said already, with the pay per view and such. But I got to ask you, as far as this A&E special tonight being the focus, Bret Hart, did you get a chance to watch by any chance?
I didn't get a chance to watch it, but of course, like you said, there's been so many documentaries about Bret Hart, so it's kind of like it's not like I don't know anything by now, but of course, you can always find something else. So I'm not going to say like I know there's something new there to stir up. So to talk about correction. So let's get to it.
Yeah, of course. And that's totally fine. Didn't watch it either because, again, you're not really missing out on much, like you said already. There's been so much out on Bret Hart, surprisingly. And as any respected wrestling fan would deem themselves to be, they've probably watched all that focusing on Bret Hart of all people. There was a really nice opening to this episode. All the episodes really hit the point home as far as like making these guys endearing. Even Ultimate Warrior, which had the worst rap of them all per se, or rep, better yet said. Even he looked like a hero at the end of the day. We're just misunderstood, had his demons. He had a hard upbringing as far as dad wasn't there, whatnot too. They did a good job with that. But they also did a good job, like I said earlier, of showing all aspects of everybody involved, everybody that was showcased so far. Here with Bret, though, the way it opens up, though, is he's in a very dim lit, like, dining ballroom, like a huge room. I'm assuming maybe his house because he had some money come along his path. Like, he wasn't struggling it so much when he was champion. But big, high ceiling, dark lit room, barely anything above him but the light. Focus on him and a big ass stenciling drawing pad. He's dueling, drawing the whole time, basically telling this whole story about ever since I was little. I've been into drawing, cartoons. I wanted to be a cartoonist, but then as soon as wrestling became part of my life, I wanted to be a wrestler. I wanted to be the best one. I wanted to go down to history books, and I wanted to be the world champion. Which again, with the piano, with the vibe set and all that too dark lit around him, and him bearing his bones, his soul about wrestling, with his only other passion, which is drawing and cartooning. It was very endearing. It's very sweet. So you're in for a emotional ride per se, because the man had a lot going on too. I mean, Owen Hart, his stroke afterwards too.
Yeah, his career ending match with Goldberg. Like it's
Yep.
yeah. And then
He had enough
basically,
going on.
not even a good run in the promotion that he basically fought Vince over. So it's like, yeah, it's like a lot.
No, and the thing that was so endearing, touching about that opening part is that it really is him in his essence. Like, he really is making it clear, like, maybe when I was younger, I wanted to draw, be a cartoonist, whatever, which he did indicate. But for the longest time after that, as soon as wrestling became a part of his life, like from 5 years old onwards, all he ever wanted to be was a wrestler. And that's all he ever settled on being too. Coming from a wrestling family, dad, brothers, everybody involved, sisters marrying wrestlers too, it was kind of like you couldn't escape it. It
Yeah,
was
just
bound
like
to be.
the Guerrero family, real quick. The same with them. Like, it's just wrestling is in their blood. I mean, if you didn't want to be a wrestler in the Hart family, Daddy made you one because he was really like about like making sure that you follow the tradition of being a wrestler. Like it says, of course, like in the dungeon, he would
Yeah.
basically, yeah, he would hurt you. Like he like, all right, cool, like this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna go about it. Like he implemented that on all of them since birth. It was like you have no choice. It was like you either a wrestler or you die.
Basically.
That yeah, he pushed it on all of them. He did.
Or the way they were describing Stu, the way he manhandled people, excuse me, in the dungeon, it was like you could die by accident. I'll just make another one since he had 12 kids already too. So
He
Stu
had a
was
whole
more than
team.
busy.
He had a whole team. That's what I'm like. How when you busy wrestling people, I'm like, how you made that time?
How in God's name did you do that? I mean, if he wasn't wrestling downstairs in the dungeon, no offense and all respect due to them both since they RIP'd, he was definitely wrestling down Mom whenever he got the chance to, in between the sheets. So, I mean, 12 explains enough for that. I mean, because then, funny enough, he goes on Bret to have a third of that 4 kids himself. But that's still like, is that weird? Have you ever thought of that too? Like, you come from a big family, you most likely end up making your own big family too. Does it seem like maybe it was normal to him to have like a ton of people around or something?
Yeah, I
Or I
mean,
don't know.
you get well, it depends on who you are because you have I have a big family and like I'm okay with my family. I have my daughter, of course, but I'm not
Shout out to
crazy.
her.
It's shout out to my warrior princess, but I'm not eager to have a big extended like 12, 13 roster. I ain't trying to have a football team. I'm fine with 1 or 2. So it depends on who you are. I mean, there's people that don't have big families that want a big family, and then there's people that do, like the Hearts that have a family, and some of them probably like, listen, I've been around too many of y'all. I need 1 or 2. I'm good.
I need time to breathe. I need time in the bathroom to myself at least to take a dump.
Exactly.
That's perfectly normal.
Think about it, like 12 to too many. Running around in one house and just all you is like no privacy. You used to noise, so you just hear movements, sounds. There's like a whole city in there.
At some point in the day, somebody out of 12 is calling your name for some reason where you get
E-
no peace whatsoever.
Exactly. You can imagine. Brad, Owen, Brad, Brad.
I mean, and based off the names too, again, no offense to no one in the family, of course, but I think after like number 7, you start drawing blanks on names to give them that
Hmm.
aren't too out there or kind of like are too weird because, for example, or maybe such a great example, like Gwyneth Paltrow and what's his name? I think Chris Martin from Coldplay. Like they went ahead and had 2, I think only 2 kids, but what one of them is Apple and the other one is like Pear or whatever to match. So they gave up on like original names on 2, but then Stu and them had like 12, but then at least some of them got Smith. I forget any of the other names, to be honest, but they kind of like started pulling straws as best they could once it came to like number 8, number 9, I think. Maybe at the 12 was like, I think we went through the whole yellow pages at this point, so let's just calm down.
Let's just call you that guy. Let's just call you that guy. Yes, yes, you're that guy.
Might as well settle. And then if you fast forward a little bit to like the early days of Stampede Wrestling, that was his promotion. Stu Hart specifically, of course, had the whole family involved. The kids literally like they were a ref. Bret said himself he was selling programs and magazines at like 5 years old, like getting paid to do it too, which is weird as a young kid, especially if you
So
work for your parents. You're like kind of, especially since we're both Spanish, we know if you do anything for them, you don't expect payment of any sort. You expect like a hot plate at the end of the night, if anything,
mhm.
as your
like
payment.
yeah, like thank you for helping me. Here's some food. Go to bed. Yeah. I mean, sure. With still having like what, like 7 to 12 kids, he had his own promotion right there, mini promotion. It's like he needed them. That's it. He's like, you're Brett. You're my champion for today. Owen, you're my champion next week. Don't worry, I got something in line for all of you. He literally had a tag team division. He just had that's it.
And probably the champion, the most they ever got, considering there's so many of them in one house, is probably like, okay, you get like 2 extra minutes in the shower for this week only as champ, reigning and defending. But fast forwarding through the promotion talk, I remember that there was one name that stood out as far as one of the other guys, non-family member, that stood out was Archie the Stomper, which is a hilarious name because we didn't get a glimpse of the guy's feet, so we couldn't confirm if he had like big clown feet or something going on there to like validate the name of Archie the Stomper. Because I'm sure, as you know better than anybody, you've taken some stomps in the ring. Now,
Yeah.
there's the art of stomping properly. There's the art of, let's say, Stone Cold Steve Austin stomping a mud hole in your ass, which he's able to do convincingly. And he always has been, because I believe, as per the school of thought of Austin, you got to lay in your shit to make you look good. Versus some other guys, which I'm sure you can validate as well, too, and vouch for. Some guys just do the invisible kicks, or they come short of wherever they're supposed to kick you, and it doesn't look good at all.
Or they
So
kick you
is
too low.
or they miss too low. I'm sure you've had that happen a couple of times too.
Yes, where they don't extend or they don't like elevate their leg high enough, and they just kick you in the. You like, yes. And then you go really no kayfabe. You take the fall.
Now, are you one of those guys like if and when that happened to you, getting kicked in the nether regions, do you immediately, as they say, give a receipt back, or do you talk to them afterwards, or what's your approach? What have you done so far?
Honestly, I can for me it hasn't happened or if actually not a kick, but I actually got my jaw almost dislocated at one point. Like I was wrestling this guy and of course I had a match against him and he just took a swing and he came really too close. Boom. And I really felt that. He was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry." So it's like it depends on who the person and how they're like delivering the move. Honestly, if it seems intentional, if they obviously being a dick, then yeah, of course I'm gonna give them a receipt. But if it's an accident, things happen. I'm okay because I know I make accidents and I have, but I do my best not to do it. But if I do, I'm like, "Oops," I'm sorry. And sometimes even me myself, if I give something, I expect a receipt. I know I'm like, all right, cool, I get it back because I know like, hey. I mean, you have some guys who cry about it. You can't, there's some dudes you can't even accidentally or you can't even make a mistake, and then you have guys like me. I'll be like, it's cool, it's fine. Let's just keep going. It's okay. As long as obviously you're not intentionally trying to hurt me, then let's keep going.
Right, because that's the whole thing they stress a lot in the ring too, is that you're supposed to be out there to protect each other at the end of the day, even if you're pretending
Yes.
hating each other.
Yes. You're supposed to, protect yourself and your opponent, as the great brother greatness always says. Protect yourself and your opponent. If you don't protect your opponent, you're gonna hurt yourself. If you don't protect yourself, you're gonna hurt your opponent. Like either way is a two-way, it's a two-way streak. It's not just one, You have to make sure you protect yourself and your opponent at all times. All
Exactly, at
times.
all costs. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
only got one life to live, and hopefully you live a portion of it in the ring in your case, but you got the rest of it to live as a father, as a family man, as whatever else you want to be after the wrestling's done.
Exactly. I want to be able to, like you said, live my everyday life after my match. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm good. you know?
Exactly. But going back to this guy, Archie the Stomper, which, I don't know if he's passed yet, but he was fairly old back when, so I'm going to assume safely, RIP. But the part of him that stood out to me was they showed a little glimpse of a promo he was cutting as a heel in Stampede Wrestling. Was of all things he was feuding with Stu Hart. He was like biting him in the face and doing all kinds of things to him too. But the part that really stood out was in the promo he cut was saying basically, and what Bret, his attention really focused on was, "Oh, I'm going to take your mother, who's the promoter. I forget her name, Helen Hart, I believe, or something like that. But I'm going to take your mother, and when I see her, I'm going to drag her out to the interstate nearby. I'm going to pile drive her on the pavement as best as hard as I can, or whatever." And I couldn't help but laugh because that is a hilarious promo, and the way the image pops into your head of somebody grabbing your mother, turning it upside down, and threatening the pile driver is crazy. Those are fighting words. I
Yeah,
mean, listen,
exactly.
that's like if someone said they were going to like switch your music, like Mama Nitro. Are you gonna stand for that at all?
No, of course not. Of course not. Of course not. It's like it's all fire. Like you're about to feel the quick feet of Super Nitro.
But
Exactly.
but but the wordplay was crazy. I mean, this is decades far removed from current day, obviously, but that would have been like a Ghostface killer line. Like, "I'm gonna take your mother and pile drive her on the interstate. Get in my way," whatever, something like that.
Yeah. Again, like you said, like they say, those are fighting words. Like we're gonna definitely fight after that.
We're scrapping after that.
hmm
But yeah, also a fun fact that I never picked up on from any other doc or special by Bret Hart at all was that he actually went to college, but he went specifically to film school to be a director because that's what he wanted to be before a wrestler, of all things.
Yeah, and it makes sense because fast forward real quick when he did, like when he left or to say took a quick break when he dropped the championship. I forget what year. He did a movie. And I'm like, and I think it goes to what you were saying. Like Bret Hart was in the
Hmm.
movie, like he wanted to be an actor. He wanted to say extend
Hmm.
his broaden his horizons. Like like okay, what else can I do? I can wrestle. Let me be an actor. Like all wrestlers, but like you say,
Yeah,
he
of
had other
course.
interests. It's just like I said, his father. I feel like pushed them to be, like you said, pushed them all to be wrestlers. But outside of wrestling, what else did these guys like to do? You know, what else did the family like to do besides just wrestling? We all know they're great wrestlers, but outside of that, of course, like you said, they wanted to do they wanted to achieve other things. You know, wanted to pursue other careers.
Yeah, exactly, and that's fair for him to do so. I didn't know he was actually in the movie because I know he was in that series Lonesome Dove when he was still champ, I think, or that time
Maybe
in between championships.
maybe that's what I'm talking about because I don't know if it was a movie or if it was a show, but he was in something. And Bret Hart,
Yeah,
he was in.
he was in Lonesome Dove. That was like a series on the USA Network back when. I think that might have been in between championships, before he jumped ship to WCW. But yeah, you got me there if he did anything besides that. I mean, besides The Simpsons, that one episode.
I think okay, so maybe it was the show because I'm like I don't remember if it was a movie or if it was a show. But either way, he wanted to be on TV.
Or you know what? Maybe he was in that WCW one that Ready to Rumble.
No, he
I can't.
wasn't. This
He
was when
wasn't in there.
he was. This was supposedly when he was still in WWF. Well, E, at the time. So that's what I don't know if it is the show you're talking about, or if it was another movie. I mean, if it was a movie itself, I'm not sure. But either way, Brett wanted to be on TV. You know, he wanted to take a break, not even take a break, but just show. Okay, let me see what else I can do besides wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if he really would have had the look per se to do it. Because he's not like The Rock, which stands out. You know, big Samoan guy, 6'5", almost 300 pounds, pure muscle, even back when. Or Stone Cold with like bald head, goatee, and cussing and drinking all the time too. I don't really think he had the look or gimmick per se that would have like leaped out at you on the screen. Not to say he might have been a bad actor. I never seen Lonesome Dove, so I don't know how well he acted. But
The thing about Bret Hart, sorry to cut you off. The thing about Bret
yeah,
Hart is that he was just too he was like you said, classic clean face, baby face, in a sense, even from wrestling, even wrestling and just in it looks like I'm, judging his character, but it's just his everyday life. He just seemed like he's just straight. How you say, like it's like he didn't really have much personality. Like he did, but it was just even when he was a baby face, it was just straight. I'm the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Like he wasn't animated. There we go. Sorry, I'm like lost.
yeah.
He wasn't animated. Like you see, Michaels was animated. Etc. The guys at the time, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Razor Ramon, Diesel, like all those guys were animated. Even Psycho Sid. Even Bob Backlund. Bob
Yeah.
Backlund, animated. Everyone was animated, and Bret was just, I'm just a good wrestler. He was literally he's a generic wrestler, but amped to the fullest extent. He let his in-ring ability speak for him. He was like, I don't need a
Yeah.
gimmick. I don't need a gimmick. I can wrestle. I'm gonna show you that I can wrestle. So, that's my gimmick. And it's like, not for nothing, like he lucky that sold him out as well as it did because he was a real great performer. He really was, and his execution spoke for him. So he was one of those wrestlers, like you said, he was the best because not a lot of wrestlers can do that, especially nowadays. They can't do that. Like you can't say I'm a good wrestler and then go in there and just wrestle and think that's going to get over in the crowd. Like, yeah, to people who like wrestling, but to the mass majority that he entertained and he got over with, it was like, yeah, hell yeah, basically. We like that. That's why when Stone Cold came, Stone Cold changed that, was like, to heck with this cookie cutter guy, I'm gonna kick your ass,
Yeah.
Tell the people how you really feel, basically. Like, tell the people how you really feel. Like, it's like, again, Brett, like his charisma, he had no animation to say. He didn't have much of a character. I mean, he was, like I said, good in the ring, but he just, his whole, everything he did just was the same. It's like it's like, even if he was excited, yes.
Yeah.
If he was mad, yes. Like, it wasn't cheesy, or it was just straight, either a smile or just a frown. And that's it. It was never like, only time he was upset is when men screwed him. That's the only time you ever seen Bret Hart come out and be so,
I mean, if not then, when? Of all things.
Because even when he was heel, well, correction, he was heel in America.
Right.
It was just still like, he got to be himself more. So that it's always great when you get to be a heel because you get to be yourself a little more. So that like that's always more like how how you say that's when your personality comes out more because you get to tell the people
Yeah.
go kill yourself. You know, so
And that is a great point you bring up too, because funny enough, just about everybody else that was focused on this miniseries were literally just, they were one guy. They were tired of being that one guy in the ring or having people tell them who to be. And they just turned themselves up to, like The Rock always said, 11 and really let themselves shine and be the stars that they were meant to be and the icons that they are now. Michaels, he escaped, being a shy, timid boy. That was the first thing from a heartthrob, and just turned out that persona that he always wanted to be low key and just fully invested into it. Same thing with the Macho Man. What's his name? His brother, Larry Poffo? Lenny Poffo.
yes, yeah, Lenny Poffo, yes.
Lenny Poffo. Shout out to him. He said something as simple as, well, as soon as he started finding himself doing that voice of the ooh, yeah voice, whatever, he never heard him talk any other way but Macho Man ever again in life. Because
It
that's how
sold
he
him.
yeah, that's how he just like escaped from who he was tired of being, to who he needed to be in the ring, convincing enough. Same thing with Austin. Same thing with just about Mick Foley. He's a beautiful example of that too, because he was a shy, timid kid from Long Island. He had a dream of being Dude Love. It was like towards the end of his career, he finally got to be Dude Love, but it wasn't until then he got to be who he wanted to be ideally. Cactus Jack in the Mist, and then Mankind also. That was all just like uh derived from him, but just to the extreme on all ends, whichever way he went. And Bret is actually the one, you're right, out of all of them that never had that luxury. He went in being the best wrestler. That was his only sole purpose and intent, to be the best guy in the ring, focused on that full time 24/7, and never bothered with the promos, never bothered with the character, because he was literally just himself the whole time. Just
Yeah,
the best wrestler, but the best average guy who just so happens to be an excellent wrestler, or the
yeah,
best technician, grappler, whatever you want to call it too.
yeah. Because even like you say, even like I'm not gonna say I watched every one of his promos, but his promos just would go like it. The demeanor would be like, when I get you in the ring, I'm gonna take you out because that's what I
Mm-hmm.
do, and that's it. Where you have The Rock, he's like, and you see, like like The Rock will come out like, and you see, it's not about no. Like you see, this so comes like, and that's the bottom line. Like you get the energy, like they're adding more to their delivery to you. He's just straight like, all right, watch SummerSlam. When I get you in the ring on SummerSlam, I'm gonna make you tap. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like excuse me, it's just one of those where it's like he was just chastising you like a father, like like the big brother, like you're no good,
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at what you're doing, you suck, like why would you do that? That is not the way a man is supposed to be. So but he just he's just basically adding that with his promo of, I'm gonna take you out in the ring, but it's more of a chastising type thing. It was like, I mean, like I said, I still enjoy it, it's just he just didn't have that to say demeanor as, like you said, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, and I feel that he didn't, besides I mean, like going into beef with them, that's another like story within itself. It's like Shawn Michaels attacked Bret because Bret wanted to be what Shawn Michaels is, and Bret
mm-hmm.
hated it. And that's why Shawn attacked him for Sunny, like, oh, hey, Sunny Days, you're not as perfect as you claim to be. Because that's another thing about Bret, like he came off as, I'm just this perfect guy, like I'm just a good wrestler, I'm a good human being. Not to say that he's not, it's just, when you coming off as a goody two shoes,
Yeah,
that's why Stone Cold basically became the next best thing, because it's like, the hell with that, like come on, who's gonna do that, like who's doing this, like who cares if you're a good wrestler, I'm gonna beat your ass. So it was like the good guy image was dying out really quick, well, not quick, but
oh
it
yeah,
was just dying out, and it's like, no, we don't care about that no more.
exactly. Trying to put that aside and make wrestling, I guess, sexy again, as the best way I could put it. Because yeah, you had like the larger than life characters of back when, in the heydays, Hogan, Warrior, Savage, all these guys, which were like perfectly, had these characters perfectly catered to who they were, because they could play that role enough, because it was within their grasp. Then you got Bret Hart in the Mist, which again, no question, at least you would know better than me, but me being a fan for so long and in no way, shape, or form being an expert, I can still safely say Bret Hart's still top five in the ring of all time,
Oh yeah,
of
of
any time
course.
you want to put him in. And even though he was champion and reigned supreme at a time when the company was at its lowest financially, it was suffering. That's no fault to him. But then again, it kind of is because he was just, I guess, relying too much on just being, they're going to watch the match and enjoy me thoroughly. And that's all I need to do. Everybody else can be the characters they want because we got Doink the Clown. We got, before he was Hardcore Holly, he was Bob Sparkplug Holly. We got Duke the Dumpster Drosy. We got these ridiculous characters that
So
people are still going to buy into it. They're going to believe me beating a goalie fresh out the hockey league. They're going to believe me being a garbage man or a dentist, a psychopathic dentist, whatever. They're gonna
yes.
believe all that. Why not?
Yes, and it's like I was again keep like repeating myself. That's why I said it's lucky that like it's a great thing that his skills literally was so great because like you said he didn't do that is if because like I said if he didn't do that now or at the time no sorry doing that now he would get booed off the stage you know
Yeah.
but at that time during the 90s his ability overlap him having to be a character. Like you said, it's like I'm gonna leave it to Doink the Clown. I'm gonna leave it to those guys because I don't have to do that. When you see me, it's straight, serious wrestling in the ring, no gimmicks, no characters. Boom. Like basically, even like his gimmick was just him giving the shades to a fan in the crowd. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
his gimmick. That was his most gimmick as he was ever going to get. Like all right, he just the how you say the most he was doing was like turning around, showing his jacket, you know, showing his back and like pointing to the
Yeah.
crowd, giving his glasses. That's it. After that, it was like, all right, cool, now wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he turned that off. It was just like, all right, cool. Like I did my gimmick, I did my character. Boom. Now, all right, cool. Here we go. Now we're gonna wrestle.
Which, speaking of, I don't want to say the blandness of Bret Hart. Not to say like it's a bad thing. That's just who he was.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
speaking of, let's say his persona, I still, sorry, after watching this, I had to sit back and wonder for a little bit, huh? So you mean to tell me that Bret, the way he was and always has been, as far as in or out the ring, kind of like flowing with the motions, uh, I don't think he would have picked the pink and black then. And I was proven right because they said, revealed right here, Bret said himself, it was Jimmy Amble Neidhart, rest in peace, the one that picked the pink for both of them when they started the Hart Foundation.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering about that, but you know what's funny is like it suited him. It worked for him.
It
Like,
did.
and that's another thing too. Like now that you mention that, is like his gear, like you said, the color pink, pink alone, especially
Stood
during the
out.
'90s, the '80s to the '90s, the era where like men was just man aggressive. So to be and that's what I say he is the best because him wearing the color pink, even though it was black, but still wearing the color pink at the time where you know masculinity was at its finest. Not saying you know it was just like colors, things mattered, you know,
Yeah.
more like in that sense of the in
No, there was
era
no
of
such thing as pink on the man.
yeah, exactly, you know, and it was and for him to wear pink and still kick your ass, it was like yo, he got you know, he got away with that. He was the only one
Mm-hmm.
who could have did that. You know what I'm saying? And it was like that's what worked for him. And like in his stand, and I'm like not for nothing. I couldn't see him in no other color because
No.
even though he put on blue before that, it was like ew, blue. Put the pink on, and mind you, pink. Put the pink on.
Mm-hmm. The
You know, but
neon
he
pink.
yeah, and he exactly standout pink. Where who is this guy in the pink? But it just it's like it worked for him. And it just you know, he made it badass where nobody can do it but him. You know what I'm saying? Like he did it just to show you I'm gonna kick your ass with my pink suit. You know, with my pink gear. So, you know, it's like that. Not to mention the gear is like that alone too. That's another thing too. It's like his
Mm-hmm.
pink gear. Like I'm quite sure like some kids growing up or even kids who was watching at the time, young kids, even teenagers or whatever, adults, I'm quite sure they was made fun of. Like, who wears pink in wrestling? Who's Bret Hart? What? Why is he wearing pink? You know, but
Oh yeah.
you know, it's badass.
Yeah, and again, credit due and rest in peace to Jim the Amble Neidhart, which was the lively one of the two. And surprisingly, when they split them up, I guess it did make sense from a technical aspect that Brett would be the star or the one to get the singles push. But Anvil was the one like making everything live, fun, getting in the ring, cleaning house.
Yeah,
Brett
but
would be
the
the one to
thing,
work most of the matches.
But the thing is, because Anvil was hurting people, or just was like a little
Yeah, yeah.
was a little sloppy at
True.
times. So if he was more careful, and I guess if he was in quote unquote better shape, maybe more fit,
That too.
maybe he could have got pushed. Maybe he would have got a different push. But because he kind of was a little bit sloppy, so I heard, in some of them that
No, you can
he
see
was,
it in the ring. He was.
yeah, he was a bit sloppy. So it's like we're not gonna push you because last thing we need you to do is hurt somebody. Sure, look at Viscera, Big Daddy V.
Oh, yeah.
His early days, he broke the Undertaker's nose. So it's like, and he was
Yep.
bigger. So that's what it was with him. That's why they push it. They rather Bret. If you really out the two, Bret, because Bret is more, he's very more smooth. He knows how to work. He knows what to do. He knows how to hold. Like he literally can work any match. Look, who was the wrestler that he made look good, and he made him look so good that they invested their money in this man, and they like realized, no, Bret Hart made you look so good. That's what we think you can work. I forget who's the wrestler, but anyways, it just goes to show you that how great of a wrestler that Bret was, and he is. He was at the
Yeah.
time. Like he can work anybody, he can work any style, anyone, and just still put on a show out there. Again, that's what it says. His work was his word. I mean, his thing was my work will speak for me. I don't have to be outlandish. Like I don't have to do this. I'm gonna show you in the ring.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Which I mean, again, the funny part of the pink working so much too is that had it been any other color but the same get up or gear or whatever, it wouldn't have hit like it did, or wouldn't have stuck in your memory like it did.
And I think too, and it's a good thing they did pink. Well, like it's a good thing they did pink because if they would have went with the common red because of Canada, I think that's what it was. It was like maybe that was as closest to the Canadian colors. Maybe I know that
Hmm.
Jim picked it, but it's still like all right without how you say without representing or without having to look
About sucking
generic.
up.
Yeah, so we're gonna go with a little close color. All right, cool. So I could wear this no matter what. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be like, oh, that's Canada, or anything of that sort. It's like, no, I could, that color just is universal. He could wear it no matter what. He could wear it as a heel, as a face, both. It doesn't matter, and it worked for him.
Yeah, and it was, and I mean, at least for me, the most iconic part was always the jacket. I mean, besides the shades, I was never going to go to a live event as a kid and get the shades, but the jacket was always next level for me.
Yes, the jacket was the shiznit.
It was absolutely.
You know?
Now,
But see,
I get
that's I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, no,
see
go ahead.
that right there too, like okay, that like my point I was making earlier, that was his gimmick, his jacket and his shades, boom, and because I feel like that's what did it. His intro itself was like his gimmick. After that, again, all right, cool. Now I'm just gonna wrestle. Like you're gonna
Hmm.
see my gimmick and the entrance. After that, I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly. And I mean, yeah, like you said, that's as far as he was going to like go out there with that end, as far as like, okay, playing up to the intro, the pyro, the crowd, and welcome me to the ring and ever. But then once the bell rings, then it's all business and
mhm.
what I came to do. But also, if we jump a little bit forward to finally the more interesting parts, we'll get to the screw job. I mean, we talked about that before, I think, with Riddick as well, too. Shouts to JT Riddick, your brother. But
Yes.
the interesting part comes when money gets involved, because surprisingly enough, when it comes time for him to maybe shop himself around or renew the contract, or re-up, better yet said, basically WCW's like sniffing around Eric Bischoff or whoever it might have been, saying, "Hey, you come over to our side, we got you." As far as the money's concerned, to the
Hmm.
sound of 2.8 million a year for signing
Ooh.
him, versus when he goes to, which I don't know if it's him being Canadian, him being so loyal to the wrestling, or how he was raised. It might have been all three. But he takes that info and he ups the ante by telling whoever, I think it was Eric, he said, "Give me your best offer," and he raised it to the 2.8 million per year. He takes that info, goes back to Vince, who he's been so loyal to for so long, and says, "Hey, these are the numbers I'm getting from over there if I go over there. Can you match that?" And the crazy part from here for me is that Vince is at least honest enough to say, no, we can't match that and we won't match that. But he also still lies by telling him what we can do is the infamous 20-year contract,
Yep.
which
And
I
20.
never knew. I never knew the amount given. I only knew the 20 years part. But here he says 10.5 million over 20 years, which isn't terrible. But in comparison to 2.8, almost 3 million a year with a new company as well,
Yeah,
that's nowhere kind of close. But also Vince lied in saying that he could give him that number because then, as the story
exactly.
goes, as you know, he reneges on that and pulls out
Hmm.
saying, "You know what,
We
pal?
can't afford you.
We can't do it." And even though that's the crazy part too, because now it just alludes to what went on most recently with the cuts they had with like the 5 stars this past
Yeah,
week. Who was it? Lana, Ruby
Alistair
Riot,
Black, Alistair
Alistair
Black,
Black,
Lana, Ruby Ryan, Braun Strowman.
Braun, and there was someone else I think
I think
that
it's
I'm
an
gonna.
NXT superstar. I'm sorry, I don't know the name. I apologize, but it's just the other four stood out.
Yeah, I'm gonna hate myself for not remembering the other guy, but yeah, because it makes you think. Wait a second. If you had all these contracts viable right now, they were active, in motion, in full play. You had Lana play out the storyline for who knows how long, going through all these tables, winning
Hmm.
Survivor Series, doing all these angles. Aleister Black is the
Yep,
best example.
you
All these
can't.
build-ups, promos, animated things that I caught on YouTube afterwards, I was like, huh, this is what I'm missing. The only good thing, I guess, since I stopped watching. But he's got all this build-up to just one day, snip, snip, you're done. What
Yep,
contract? We pulled on that too. And they did
yep,
the same thing with Bret here. They're in the midst of the contract, but then he says, you know what, I can't afford you, so I'm going to pull back and pull out on what I said before.
yep. And that's what started everything. And then of course, like you said, we're gonna go forward to come back real quick. Let's go forward. Then the screw job. So of course he's even more upset about that. Like, you don't pay me, and then you screw me. It's like again, that's where the Hulk just comes out.
And you can't blame him because, again, Vince lied in saying he could afford him when I would think Bret, of all people, as a champion at that time, would know better than anybody. The company is suffering. They're hemorrhaging. They're bleeding money, better yet. I don't know why I use that word. But they're bleeding money. They're hurting. They're trying to see what and if they can do anything to get back on top because, again, they're relying on Doink the Clown, Isaac Yankem, Duke the Dumpster Drosy to like get people over and have people care again. Or hopefully the kids will have their intelligence insulted enough to be like, daddy, daddy, mommy, mommy, watching me, even though it's stupid or whatever at this point too.
Yeah. Because
But
yeah,
it's like,
it became more gimmicky after a while. I think they say to this day, 95 or like 94, 95 was the worst year for WWF at the time. Like, was the worst because it was like, what can we do? Like you said, what can we do? Like, you lost, not lost, but yeah, you lost Hulk Hogan, which was your top
mhm,
star at the time. I mean, even though you had Shawn Michaels and Bret, but this was during the era where the big men took over. The big men, you
yeah,
know what I'm saying? It wasn't, even though Bret Hart was bringing the money, Shawn Michaels was bringing the money, whatever the case may be, it was still, Vince still want the Titans. He still want the gargantuan 6 feet
mhm,
guys. Hulk Hogan's the Diesel, uh, Psycho said, like he wanted those guys. I mean, he still is like that to today. The only reason why he stopped is because I'm not correction. Don't go at it as hard as he can because the fans always going to rip a new one, and then you have people
yeah,
back there like, hey, listen, this is not going to work. If it wasn't for them, Vince would just every big guy in the world would still be champion.
oh yeah,
Every
of
you
course,
know. So, anyways, let's go back to this backtrack. So it was like even though Bret was bringing the money, but Bret wasn't the ideal figure that Vince wanted. He wasn't the ideal wrestler. Like, oh yes, you're not my ideal wrestler. You're not Hulk Hogan, basically.
yeah, far from,
You're not Ultimate Warrior. You're not Hulk Hogan. You're not them. You're not Macho Man. You're not these guys.
yeah. But then okay, so then the thing happens with the money. He says he could deliver on 10.5 in 20 years. Okay. Brett is so loyal, he doesn't care about the money so much like that. It's still, no one's going to complain about being a millionaire out of nowhere. But all that time taken to get to that amount is kind of crazy. He agrees to it because he's loyal. He wants to please Vince, as he said here, as I'm sure he said in other docs too, remembering that time fondly. I would have, taken a bullet for Vince at that
Yeah,
point.
and that's why he was more. That's why I think too that like when everything comes to light and you see the stories and you hearing the stories, like it makes sense why he was so frustrated and wanted and knocked Vince out because it was like out of everybody or at least out of the clique, I was the most loyal to you. You know what I'm saying? You shit on me. Like, of course, I'm good. I'm upset. You backstabbed me. But then it's
Hmm.
like, from a business aspect, like, again, let's jump forward real quick. It was like the whole business deal of business is business. And it's like,
Yeah,
that's where you play devil's advocate and go, you know what? This is business. We can't let you walk out the company without belt. This is, you're taking it to our competition. So of course it's like Vince had to do what he had to do. Brett felt hurt, but then it's like, Brett, you did put Vince, and because you personally didn't like Shawn, you put him in a compromising situation where it's like, what do we do? All right, well, we're gonna screw this guy. Well, now, but it's terrible.
yeah. And that's the scary part too, because he does. I remember this part from other docs or any other time he's had a chance to speak. Brett, I mean, he has said, "Oh, there was a point in time where they said, okay, we want you to drop the title since you're going to go to WCW to Shawn because he's next in line. We want to work the program with Shawn and Austin for future reference for a year or so removed, whatever." But he basically said, "Oh, well, when I went up to Shawn to say it'll be something like my pleasure to do it for you," he says, Brett, that Shawn told him, "Well, if it was the other way around, I wouldn't do the same for you." So that's when Brett took it personally, as far as
Mm.
remembering from early '92 when they had that first title defense, Shawn versus Brett for what was that, I think SummerSlam? No, Survivor Series '92, I think, when Shawn had his first shot at the world title.
Okay.
They were supposedly friends from back when, all the way up until this point. So whatever happened, that's really when they started butting heads. Brett took that personally, as if it's true, I would be too offended if I was like in his position as well. But that's when he started getting really stubborn, as far as, I'm not dropping it to Shawn. Give me Austin, give me whoever else you got, but anyone but Shawn. I'm not dropping it to him. So then that's when, of course, Vince elaborates the plan, the scheme to pull the Montreal screw job, excuse me, as we know it to be nowadays. Touching on that, because we know the screw job already. We know that whole story, how it went down, obviously.
Mm.
But interesting enough to me, at least, maybe I didn't pay attention to other docs or the specials that might have shown it. It's the episode 2 episodes ago when they did Shawn Michaels on the A&E thing, and now, which is the only time I can remember or see that Vince actually fessed up to the screw job. In this episode, he says, "I did what I had to do
Yeah.
for the sake of my title, because of the fear and thought that he'd take the title and pull in a Lunger Blaze and just dump the title in the trash live on Nitro or something." And then in the Shawn one, they actually go more in depth with him, Hunter, or Triple H, I mean, and Shawn, where Vince is basically like, "I thought of it all. It was my idea. I trusted Shawn because he was the one that was going to ride or die for me pretty much after Brett, and he wanted to be a star. So I was going to put the belt on him, and I told him and Hunter, you both take this to the grave. You don't say shit to anybody. If anyone comes around snooping around or asking, you put the blame on me. You had nothing to do with it." So then that's why we get Shawn in that backstage footage, I think, from Wrestling with Shadows, where Brett asked him, "Oh, Shawn, did you know anything about this?" He pauses for like a good 7, 10 seconds and says, "Oh, my hand to God, I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't know shit that was going on. I swear to God, it wasn't me."
Mm.
Which makes you think now, again, as far as I can recall, or correct me if I'm wrong, these are the only two instances where I can see Vince actually admitting finally to the screw job happening, or it being his plan the whole time.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, not watching documentaries. No, correction, watching documentaries, but more so just hearsay, watching videos of other people's point of views of it, or just in general other people's opinion. I'm like, yeah, it was one of those where everyone was involved, and everyone was involved, and everyone knew what they had to do. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, they knew. They're like, all right, cool. We know what we got to do. It was even it was in the video game. I forget which one. I think it was 14, 13 or 14, where
Mm-hmm.
it was the backstage gameplay, and it was like, hey, the hell with it. If Brett don't want to do business, then we're gonna have to do what we got to do. Triple H, they was in the
Oh
back.
yeah,
Yeah, you see, so it
yeah,
was like, all
yeah.
right,
You're
so
right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
it was like it was already exposed that they know what happened. They was already exposed that they knew. They knew what was going to go down. So it's just one of those. Sometimes you just laugh because you're like, well, damn, it's a middle finger to everyone because something that people fought about years, had a comment, had an opinion on, like, oh, Vince knew, Vince didn't know, blah blah blah. they just showed it in a video game. Like, look, boom, we knew this happened. Boom, what you gonna do about it? It's been 20 years, almost 20 years. Get over it.
You're right, because he did show they did play the audio from
Mm-hmm.
when he had him mic'd up, and they overheard him basically saying what he was saying too. Vince, I mean, you're right. I did forget about that part, but I guess if anything better gets said, this is the first time I see Vince actually say it himself without that audio being played. That yeah, I did it pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, he is one of those, like you said, it just gets, like I was saying earlier, I'm sorry, that is a business thing. It's like, this is where it becomes hard being a businessman, or to say, this is why they say don't have friends in the business, or don't have people that you think will be your friend or your associate, because when it comes to, it doesn't have to even be money. It does, I mean, this is, a situation leading to money, but when it comes to principles or values or what you feel is right, this is where people become enemies.
Yeah.
Because all right, now look at Vince's situation. Even though Vince is Vince, but he's a businessman. I'm not gonna let you take my prized possession to my, like, again, I said earlier, to my rival company and disrespect me. My company's already going down at the time.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like it was the Monday Night Wars. It was already a battle. So for you, the women's champion already did it. For you to take the world championship over there and do it, it's like, what? You lose. It's like that thing would have made people literally, probably, maybe, in my opinion, I feel would have dismissed WWE. What power do you have if your champion left and threw the belt away? Like,
that's true.
Why should we be there now at this point? Why should we respect you? So
that's a good point.
Why should we respect you? So Vince had to do what he had to do. Shit, anybody would have did that. It's just people was always, like, jumping real quick to morals, whatever. People was always quick to say something, have a comment, an opinion about something. I'm like, if you're not in their shoes, you don't know what that's like. You know what I'm saying? I mean, regular everyday jobs, people become enemies because you want somebody got to do their job. And if you're a boss, if you're a supervisor of someone, and you're telling your friend or whoever you feel this person is, hey, do your job. That's all I'm asking you to do. Or this is not something you're supposed to do. And because you have an opinion on it and you don't like it, but it's still your job, now you're gonna give me all kinds of hell. And now we're enemies. And now basically the whole world is, oh, you're an asshole because why? I told you to do your job. So that's what it in this case is like. Yes, people have their opinions, but honestly, Vince to say this is business, he had to kind of do what he had to do. Like sorry, Bret. Like, he wanted. He's like, yo, I can't let you take my belt, man. Like, I need my belt. Like, this is my company. So it's one of those. Your hands are tied. What you gonna do? I'm quite sure other people have pulled for less.
Yeah.
Exactly. Other people have pulled the lever for less. So don't act like you would never. Please,
Yeah, because you really do got to think of it both ways. Of course, there's Bret's stance on it, and there's Vince's stance on it too.
Mm-hmm,
you want to sympathize with Bret, obviously, because up until now he's been loyal. He's been there through thick and thin, through the worst of times. Hopefully now transitioning to the best of times. You think with the Attitude Era and such, whatever coming up, or Bret finally going heelish and whatnot too. But then you got to look at it from Vince's end too, where, okay, we had Alundra Blaze happen. She dumped the title live on TV. And even though it was a barely used women's title, it was still like, a blow to my ego. Even if I think deep down he knew Bret wouldn't do anything of the sorts, he couldn't run the risk of, well, what if? Or he just has it in him so much he'll do it surprisingly to my to my discredit per se. So that's definitely there.
I'm sorry. It's just like, in this world of wrestling, right? Because it's a different type of ball game. Anyways, let's just say, okay, cool. Let's say The Rock left. The Rock left with the Intercontinental belt. Threw that away. Like, again, it discredits your company. Like, when you do things like that, it's going to discredit your company. People are going to eventually disrespect it. Like, oh, what are we bringing this belt for? So they could throw it in the trash in WCW? Like, it's just one of those that would be the joke. Like, people would just start joking on it. Like you said, it's only because the women's division wasn't really highly respected during the 90s. So that's why I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, she threw the women's belt away. Whatever. Who cares? We don't care much for the women's champion division anyways, which is sad, but it was true. But now to take the biggest superstar, the biggest superstar with the biggest prize possession, take it to your rival and have them disrespect it? Because even if Brad didn't do it, they would have disrespected, because why? You brought the belt to their home. So they're going to do whatever the hell they're going to want to do with it. That's the prize possession, especially in WWF at the time. The World Championship, the WWE title, who didn't want to be champion? Like, especially how prestigious it was at the time, and how many people, especially you look at Hogan, how many times the man fought to keep it. So again, it's one of those, the energy that the championships brought back then, to take that and discredit it or disrespect it. Of course, it's like Vince is like, it sucks, but hey, Vince had to do what he had to do. He had to save it. He wanted to save his business.
Yeah. And again, you got to really look at it from both angles. So I guess you could definitely understand Vince to an extent. You can understand Bret to an extent. But there is that common ground, everything involved too. And then, I mean, the screw job happens. He goes to WCW. We know that, well, nothing doing over there, unfortunately, to his advantage or his credit. I guess the only thing that stood out, unfortunately, was his one match with Chris Benoit in tribute to Owen Hart when he just passed.
Yeah.
And that's really, I mean, he was, I think, U.S. champion. He was the world champion briefly, but again, it's like, who remembers really? And no one really cared for it to begin with.
And it's like, that's what sucks too. It's like, you know, like, it sucks because it's like, all right, you, top of the world, right? The championships get stripped from you. You go to the rival company. They give you they give you the hallelujah, because of course they're giving you a big contract, but they're just riding your coattail off the strength of that, you know, to hell with Vince. Yes, because we hate Vince too, because we want to bring down the company. So they wrote your coattail on that and then forgot, oh shoot, we have a superstar. We have him. What are we going to do with him? Again, NWO took over. Hulk Hogan was there. Just like, it's just if you think about it, it's fucking ironic. Because the irony in that, because Hogan took Bret's shine in WrestleMania 9 when he took the belt from Yokozuna. Then when you think about it, the same thing happened in WCW, because Hulk Hogan was running WCW. So it's like, you got screwed twice, 3 times, you know? It's like, you really think about it. Like, you know, you just got, like, they're like, oh, bring him, especially like Hogan, Nash, and Kevin. They was just Nash is Kevin. Scott. Scott, they took over the company. So it was literally, it was Bischoff and NWO. Honestly. I never watched WCW, but watching clips and then looking at some storylines, because you know, people's always gonna, like you said, people do documentaries and gonna make it look a certain way. So I will watch some clips of the old WCW, or, you know, just some stuff from the past. I'm like, okay, you know, let me see what I can muster or what I can take from here. Storylines always changing. That's one thing we know. Like, anyways. But my point is that, you know, if we know anything, we knew those guys took over. We know they did. Yeah. You know, if WCW was NWO, Sting, Goldberg, Booker T, DDP were the second, were Class B. Team B, because it was like, all right, you know, we got the main guys, they're doing everything, you guys are going to come after, which is true. The 2000s, late 90s to late 90s, 99 into 2000 proved that, because that's what happened. Booker T, you know, Brett, like they came and took over because the other guys were leaving, or, you know, whatever controversy, whatever crap they're going through. They came and like, all right, well, we're going to take over taking over a ship that's sinking. And that's what it was. WCW was sinking, but they was doing their best to try to keep it up, because all of the muscle heads got tired, or they just was hurt or gone, and here we go. So again, it's like, it sucked. Like, you know, Bret Hart could have have a better lasting career in WWF. Yeah, you know, he probably would have been upset. I mean, he was upset. He was very upset. Maybe he would have pulled the Stone Cold, take his ball and go home and take his jacket. But he would have came back, and hey, you know, something else could have came from that. You know, I know he wouldn't have worked with Michaels again. Let's just go with the hypothetical. Let's just go with, if Bret decided to stay with WWF, he would have left. He would have waited till Michaels leave and go, okay, as long as that man is there, I'm not coming back. I think that's, you know, like, it's like, I mean, he probably would have won, but let's just say he didn't want to go to WCW. He still was loyal to Vince and wanted to stay in WWF at the time. He
Yeah,
probably wouldn't. He probably just like, you know what? Until he drops the belt or whatever the case may be, I'll just book me for another storyline. Don't book me for the world championship until Michaels drops the belt. And then him and Austin could have had a great match, after WrestleMania 14. Maybe that could have led to a 15 if to say Stone Cold didn't get hurt.
that
No,
too.
no, for 15. Sorry, 15 was Stone Cold and The Rock. It was 2000. 2000. I'm sorry. So
Hmm.
again, it could have led to maybe it would have been The Rock, maybe, but who knows? Because things were changing at the time as well too. So maybe people was going to start getting tired of Bret Hart. I mean, things happen. We know how this business is ran. Like one moment they love you, the next moment they don't. So who's to say? Maybe they would have got tired of Bret. Like, oh, we don't want to see him again. Bring The Rock. Yeah.
Exactly, that too. And then I guess you could fast forward after that too. Like obviously, rest in peace, Owen. That whole thing happened as far as him tragically passing in the ring of all things. That story's been
Yes.
told so
Too
many
many times.
times,
That's like that's
especially
I'm sorry.
yeah. No, that's fine.
That's the black. That's like the forbidden next to Chris Benoit. I'm sorry, but it's the
Yeah.
forbidding language in wrestling. The Owen Hart situation
Hmm.
is next to Benoit. Only the reason why because of how controversial it is. So it's like that's heartbreaking. And mind you, I wasn't
Yeah.
watching wrestling at the time, but my friends. The only reason why I know about that because my friends. I never forget my friends. Um, they came to school the next day. They was like, "Did you see what happened to Owen?" They were like, "Did you see what happened?" Correction, I didn't even know it was Owen, but they're like, "Did you see what happened to him? He fell." Did it like they explaining everything? Kids they explaining everything. I'm just like, "What happened? Who died?" And then of course I seen that Owen Hart passed away. You saw it all over the news, and they didn't explain what happened, or if they did, I didn't hear it because it was just I don't know. My mind as a kid was just everywhere. Like I like just. But anyways, I remember that, and that stood out. Like that was one of those moments. That was like I guess a first wrestling moment for me that I'm like a bad one because I'm like wow, like what happened to this guy? He died, but then it was just as years progress, you hear the stories, and of course, I try to find the footage. I did, but this was before I knew that there's none of that. Like you got to go
Hmm.
to you got to go to the vault of WWE, and they will kill you if you ever find that. I mean, there's a lot. I have opinions on that situation. I do, because it is controversial. Because if you hear how it is, if you hear what happened, it makes you question it. It really does. I'm sorry, it
Yeah.
really does. It's more than just like, oh, okay, it was an accident. It just makes you go, but wait, why this? Why that? Because when you go into that situation, the harness was very fragile. So it's like, why
Yeah. The
use
ring
that?
thing.
Yeah,
The
like
ring that was holding it.
yeah, it's like why use that to bring someone down? A man who's 200 plus. That thing can't even hold 6 pounds. We're gonna use it to bring you down. I'm sorry. It just was very like that's something that's a.
Very
Anyways,
taboo. Yeah.
yes, don't want to get into that,
I
but
mean, it's very thoroughly and well explained in that Dark Side of the Ring episode too. So anyone who
hmm
hasn't watched that, you can definitely watch that and get like, well, put you in the kind of mood after that too. But how it was all handled. But
yeah.
then fast forwarding too through that, I mean, the WCW run is pretty much ended via Goldberg of all people with the kick to the head,
Uh
which
huh.
he described himself as, well, he kicked me so hard that if he would have kicked the building, he would have at least knocked a brick or two loose from that building. It was so impactful. So then that happens tragically to him. Career cut short. I would say he wasn't
hmm
that young anymore, but he still could have gone for some more time. I'd say. And
Yeah.
then after that too. I mean, well, that very long overdue comeback to the WWE, trying to make amends with Shawn, and he did. Thank God. And the crazy thing to sum it all up with Bret, at least, is that he really kind of it took him long enough, better yet said. And not to say that he was guilty in that sense, but it took him long enough in the sense of, well, when he finally did come to try to make amends or peace with Shawn, he pretty much put the blame on himself for holding the grudge for that long and not wanting to do it sooner, as far as how he explained it, which he had a right to be mad, absolutely. But
Yeah.
then again, we can understand Vince, where he was coming from. We can kind of understand Shawn because he was just kind of there and took advantage of an opportunity that kind of fell into his lap. But surprisingly enough, Bret is that, I guess, much of a gentleman, or maybe too Canadian for his own good, that he made it about himself as far as, well, I held a grudge for so long that finally now I see the errors of my ways of holding on to it for so long that I just want peace. I just want everybody to be good. Let's be, fellows and all that too. So then we get that WrestleMania match, which I don't think anyone wants to remember, him versus Vince.
It's like, how you say, you got to hang it up when the boss who doesn't wrestle at all is carrying you through the match. That's
Selling
when
better.
that's when you know, okay, you got to stop, because the boss is guiding you through this match. That's not good. And I'm not saying that Vince is terrible, but it's just Vince don't wrestle. Like, yeah,
No.
he knows the thing. He knows how to like play by play, but at the end of the day, you're the one telling him, all right, cool. Or he'll tell you, of course, but leading you and telling, he's like, damn. He probably was like, God damn it, Brad, what I know you couldn't do anything but shit. Like, you could have at least did something, like hit me or something. I had to take a bump for you. Oh my God.
Talk about wrestling with shadows. I might as well wrestle one here too. Instead of
Exactly. Sure, I could have got God, who I got to tag team with Shawn. But speaking of, like, to say Shawn and Bret, I mean, their beef was a different issue. That like you said, Montreal was just the topping on the cake. But overall, like you said, their personal issues amongst each other, who knows what it really stands from or how it started. I'm quite sure it's been explained, but you don't know until you're there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're there, you see things, you go, that's not what really caused this whole ruckus between these fools. This is what started, and you'd be amazed on the little things that causes the biggest issues. And I know it doesn't have to be wrestling. It's life in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we're talking about wrestling, I've seen it enough in the in backstage, or just, of course, like little small things where you're like, oh wait,
politics.
that's politics. Yeah, like, oh wait a second, that's going to lead to something. Now, excuse me, going to everyday life, you've seen people, friends, coworkers, where a situation escalated, and then when you remember how it started, if you was there, you'd be like, wait, that's what caused that. That situation caused this big eruption. So. Yeah. But the issue between Bret and Vince, that itself was going to take a while. But the thing between him and Shawn, that was going to take a longer time, because they had a personal issue amongst each other. Like, their beef was just too thick.
Yeah,
it was very thick, because it's like, I'm quite sure. Honestly, I feel like you said, Bret wanted just to end it, but I feel his little part of him was like I don't want to, but to make peace with myself, I have to, because them two, boy, cats and dogs, man.
Because throwing it back to the episode that had Shawn as the focus, it was funny enough you bring that up, because when he lost his smile, as he did, because of the knee injury, the knee tweak, it was Bret that was front and center as far as calling him out as far as a pansy with his little tweaked knee, as far as just like wanting to run and cry home, go running home crying because of, something that might have happened. He was calling him a pussy, pretty much, like exaggerating whatever happened. Yeah. I always wondered why Starbucks even does that to begin with, because it is kind of like you give that person entitlement of some sorts, but then again, it gives them a kind of gateway, the door open to be like, I'm going to mess up your name most likely because, I got a GED at best, but I'm putting a name on it, so, be flattered to have that. It's like self-service of some sorts, or catering or something.
Just be thankful I fucking tried,
Yeah, it's like Ashley's kind of genius marketing, low-key, but it's never successful as far as a name spelling, right?
I was just going to say that. It's a great marketing plan, because whether they get it right or they fuck it up, people are going to take pictures and talk like, oh, finally got the name right. Or look at this, they botched it. They fucked everything up. Never going back there again. But they're talking about it, so people will go back.
To really sum it up, I mean, listen, there's been, again, like we said already, so many docs, specials, YouTube things, whatever you want to look at as far as Bret Hart, his career, highlights, focusing on whatever too, et cetera, et cetera. The man's a legend. There's no disputing that. But as far as this episode's concerned, I mean, considering you didn't see it yourself, but I would recommend that you do see it. I mean, you're busy, you got a life, you got a daughter to take care of too as well, so I don't blame you at all. But I would recommend you, as far as anyone else out there too as well, Nitro, go see it when you get the chance. All 8. If you remember finally wrestling like that, I mean, listen, the pleasant surprise of the series was Booker T, because I would have never expected to get something like that. Of the 8 episodes, and having Booker T involved, to my pleasant surprise, better yet said, because that was a really good one too. Very touching his old come up with Stevie Ray being his legit brother from the get-go, them being from Houston, and then of course confirming that I was wrong to really think they were from Harlem the whole time, because that was cool enough to think, but then they really weren't. But Booker T's an awesome individual, great story told there too. But just I recommend all 8 episodes. So we'll save you having to give it a rating as far as the episode's concerned. If I'm going to be honest, I did give the Warrior one, which is really well told. I mean, there is a dark side of the ring when if you watch it right after, it's like really polarizing, makes you think, well, he was a piece of shit, so how are we going to believe the A&E one? But still, the A&E one, I gave it an ear and a half as far as attitude is concerned. For this episode, because it's the last one, it's the icing on the cake, it's the cherry on top, and it's, of course, probably undisputably one of the best guys in the ring ever that they focused on tonight, Bret the Hitman Hart, of course. Duh, that's what we're talking about. I'm gonna have to give it a 1.5 year. Only because we got so many docs on Bret. We know the story already. This is a very lovely, clean take on Bret's history and highlights. I don't know. It just seems like it was missing something, or I would have not left Bret for the last one. I would have probably put him first and maybe left Austin last, because I think Austin, we didn't really get too many docs or specials on him. Or at least we got robbed of that opportunity. But he was the first one out of the gates, which wasn't a bad one either, but I would have left that one for last to really cap the series off. Or if we get another season, who knows, but I would have left Austin's last reverse to order. Bret, we know the story already so many times. He's told it himself, books, DVDs, et cetera, et cetera. So this is like...
It's like, how many times can he keep telling the same story?
Exactly. And it's always well told. This one was a really good take on it too. But it's like, yeah, we've been through this already. We kind of know.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
we know.
I would have left Booker T as the last one. I would have left like Mick Foley, even though he had like 3-something books already too, because that was a really good episode as well. Or even Shawn. We didn't really get Shawn at all, really, at any point like that. That was a really good one also. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. 1.5 years for the Bret Hart special, only because it's been told so many times, but otherwise a very good episode. Now listen, we have taken that out the way. We slapped a sharpshooter on this special as far as that's concerned. Now we open the floor to you, sir. I did have to get your immediate reaction, your feelings, before we close things off properly, as far as your first taste of pay-per-view glory and success. Your debut, pay-per-view wise, for Global Syndicate Wrestling, yourself and Gio Galvano versus Austin Aries and Ricky Reyes.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, finally, you got it right.
Give yourself 2 ears.
Yes, finally, you got it right. For God's sakes, it's about fucking time. But yeah, without further ado, though, you did have your pay-per-view debut for Global Syndicate Wrestling. Yourself, Gio Galvano versus Austin Aries and Ricky Reyes. So I got to ask you, how did that feel? What was that like for you to finally get your moment to shine, even if it was an attack match?
It felt great to be in the ring with like 2 of the best, Ricky Reyes, of course, like very, very, very great in the ring. Austin Aries, very good in the ring as well. I mean, I'm saying it for both, but overall personality-wise, guys, both of them guys down to earth. Like, they spoke to us, me and Galvano, like, they just was, like, the communications were very, 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 very welcoming, like, it was just, I sat there, I listened, I was just listening, because, of course, I'm like the rookie compared to them, like, they've been in this for years. I was just listening, and they was just giving some great advice, and just letting us know what to do, how to go about it, and just gave their input. They mainly was just like, hey, what do y'all want to do? What y'all want to do? How y'all want to go about this? And it's like, all right, this is what we want to do. And then they'll just change it to make it like, all right, well, we can basically make it make sense, especially me per se. Like, whenever I was like, oh, this is what we can do or how I want to go about it, They're like, okay, well, how about we do this so it can lead to that? It makes more sense that way. So it was great. And then I got to give Austin Aries a good spin kick. Fire! Fire! He got to feel the quick feet of Supa.
And I called it too in the stories. At
Yes,
least
you
sharing
did.
that you were going to have the match. You were going to taste the feet.
Yes,
Literally, and no
exactly.
pun intended for you, courtesy of Supa Nitro, to Mr. Austin Aries, which did, I mean, just shining somewhat a little bit, at least, on Austin Aries. I felt bad for him in his little brief run at NXT and then kind of a little bit like blinking and missing on the main roster, too, because he was able to cut a promo with a banana and make that his gimmick because he's a vegan. That's mostly what he eats, I'm assuming. And he was able to get that over. And also probably still holds the honor of having, like, I'd say probably at least top 3 or 5 pre-show matches for WrestleMania ever. Him and fucking, well, back then Neville, now currently Pac in AEW.
Yes. And it was funny. I was actually watching that match, like, just to see what I was going up against. You know how I gotta. It was just more so just be aware of what he's gonna do, how he's gonna go about it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So it felt great. And that's the match I kept watching too, just to be like, all right, this is the guy. This is the guy. This is the guy. You know. So I guess like cool guys, man. Cool, both of them, down to earth, man. Like they were just. It was phenomenal to be in a ring with them. It felt really great. You know, it felt good.
Now, how'd you feel getting the news that you were going to be tapped to be in that match and, of all things, your pay-per-view debut?
If it was like I couldn't, it was a shocker to me because like I didn't expect that, and I like especially to be on Fight TV live at that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on YouTube, I'm on social media, but it's of course it's pre-recorded, it's already out there. So it's not like you can't see me, but it's just the fact that you were going to be able, and you were able to see me live,
Yes.
like I'm coming out now, and people home can watch this and go, I'm watching this guy right now live on television. Was just a great feeling. My family, the Super family, was super supportive. They loved it, man. It was just phenomenal. Like the feeling they got when they saw me was just epic. My daughter was there live. That was even better for me. My daughter got to see me. She always there, but the
Yeah.
fact that she was on television live with her father, it felt great. I can't ask for nothing better. Like the fact that she got to see me come out there, and she was live. We both were on TV live, like live. It was a great feeling, man. My friend was there too, my homeboy, like the one who taught Super how to be Super, the one who taught me how to defend myself. My friend was there too. He was there. They both were there, and it was just phenomenal, man, to have them there.
Nice, nice.
Oh, he was so close. Oh, wait, he backs off. Oh, and there's a kick.
But, listen, closing things off. Listen, I'm proud of you, of course, that you got your pay-per-view debut. You got to get in there with a couple of veterans, excuse me, no disrespect to the other guys, but of course, Austin Aries is the name that stands out, of course. How do you feel now? Like, do you feel like you've hit a milestone that you've had in mind for a while, or was that something to get out of the way? What's on the path now for Supa Nitro, better get said?
The path right now is to seriously face more and more opponents, like in a sense of more opponents with a high caliber, like high level of intensity. Like, sure, the record, the status up there, status of like as high as it can go, as high as the sky can go. That's the only way that I'm going to get better. That's the only way I'm going to get better. That's the only way I can improve. That's the only way that the world can see and know who I am. And the more I keep doing that, the more recognized I will be. Sorry, I keep saying, recognized I will be, and that's all I want right there.
Hey, I mean, at this point, you earned it because forgive me for doing so. I forget how long you've been in the business, Betty had said, but I know you've been in it for a while. So would you say it was about time you got this opportunity, or not to even like put you on the spot like that, but maybe do you feel like you should have done it sooner? You might have earned it a little sooner, but it came now. How do you feel about that?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm happy that it happened now, versus then, because then I wasn't ready mentally, because I I was like doubting myself that I can't step up to these guys' level. I'm still learning. But the fact that now is like, it's one of those where I'm like, look, it's either now or never. You know what I'm saying? Like, how long can you not be ready until you remember, I'm aging. I'm not staying younger. I'm aging. So I can't, eventually when I say I'm ready, it'd be too late. Like, okay, you're too old at this point. And it's not downplaying any of the older guys who are still wrestling, but I'm just saying, for me, I'm like, get it now while it's hot, so I'm just like, I'm grateful for the time that it took. Now I just gotta push myself and know how I'm gonna step up and continue to step up to put my foot forward, the best foot forward.
And you got two of them that are both lethal. So whoever wants to really step up and eat the feet, whichever one's your preference, lefty or righty, you got them. Cold on the platter.
Right there, for real.
Waiting for them. How's JT Riddick doing, by the way? We haven't heard from him in a hot minute.
Oh, JT is great, man. He's just, like I said, taking care of business. And he wants to come back to say, talk with us, talk with you, of course, definitely. He miss having conversations with you. So we got to get him back on, man. We have to get him back on.
Definitely. Looking forward to that whenever he wants to. Door's always open.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, I apologize. He did say what's up, because he knew we was going to do this. So he said what's up. He just had to get some sleep.
Oh no, all good. I mean, it's probably late for him, considering he's a busy man, as we all are. But
yes.
What's up to him in return? If you could do that for me.
Definitely will. Definitely will.
Well, Nitro, I mean, it's late. It's Sunday. You're a father. I'm sure you have to tuck in the warrior princess in a bed, tight underneath the sheets, so she doesn't run away from, any dreams or nightmares that might haunt her of her daddy not being champion soon enough. Because I know that's coming. I know you had the whole fiasco with the tag titles, yourself and your brother, which was not short-lived, but just kind of yoinked off you, literally your waist. But I know, I'm putting it out there right now, because I know it's out there already in the universe, as you frequently post the 11/11 posts on your stories and such. But we're sending out the good vibes right there now for the sake of, and add some years to it too if we have to, for some championship gold for Supa Nitro soon enough. Be it GSW or wherever. And at the end of the path, once you're tired and world-traveled feet have rested enough, at least you'll have some gold to lay on your lap and look back on, and have it look back at you and shine your reflection on it and be like, super, let's go for the gold.
Exactly. Let's go. Round one.
Round one. But Supa Nitro, excuse me. I can't thank you enough for being here, as you're always willing to chime in and be a part of the thing and do your thing here with me. Pause, by the way, on who that's been watching this time around. Thank you. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we go and call it night? Promote yourself, plug yourself, whatever you got to do. Please go ahead.
Guys, of course, everyone around the world who's watching on Who This been watching. Continue to watch both of us on Who This, of course. And fuck it, not the FU, but the fuck it. And continue to watch me, of course, on my Instagram, _Supa Nitro. Supa, not super.
Supa.
And check out, I got some t-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees. So check it out. Get your nice little shirt. Let's go. Support. Support. And, just continue to stay super.
Exactly. That's all that's left for us to do. And I wish you a super rest of your Sunday, since there's literally like 3 minutes left before midnight. Thank you again, my brother. I appreciate it. You have a good one. Stay safe. And till the next one. Who this been watching? That's it for tonight. I'm tapping out, for God's sakes. It's late. You gotta go to sleep. I gotta go to sleep. I probably gotta take another shower and bath, because, listen, I be stinking. I'm literally sitting and swimming in my own sweat, because it's that hot and humid outside here in New York. Well, I'm not outside, I'm inside. But because it's so hot outside, it's trickling in inside. The humidity, the viscosity of the dewiness of it all, where even under these shades, because I was trying to channel these Bret Hart vibes, I'm sweating. I'm wiping my brow, literally and proverbially. That's the end of the episode. the A&E Biography documentary special on Bret the Hitman Hart. That was tonight. Capping it off for tonight, 8 episodes on A&E. I recommend all episodes. I can't really recommend one over the other, but if I had a favorite, I guess, honestly, I'd say the Macho Man. It's again, the one that really kind of showed you both aspects, the yin and the yang of the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Rest in peace, of course. But all of them were good. I recommend it. If you remember wrestling fondly, like I do from back when, growing up, all these episodes are really good. And with this being said, this is really going to be my sayonara, goodbye, peace and deuces to wrestling, because I am no longer intrigued or interested in it no more. So with that, I got to say goodnight, goodbye. Thank you all for, for jumping in on the live, commenting, saying hello, joining and all that too. And right as I'm about to end, we got Hydra Shawty joining as well. Salutes to you. I appreciate it. But till next time, back to our regularly scheduled day and time, which will be Friday, 10 p.m. Who This Been Watching? Me, of course. I'm the host at Who This Is One on Instagram. Couple of days later, as we do with every episode too, it'll be up on YouTube, youtube.com/Who This Is One, as well as the audio, strictly audio version for these things, your ears, will be available on all podcasting platforms, whatever you choose, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, etc., etc. You know the deal by now, the spiel. And yeah, that's it, pretty much. I'm sweating like a fucking dog. Literally, I guess I'm channeling that energy too, besides the Hitman. Had to take the shades off. It was so fucking hot in here.